Hey there, Nicki Traikos here of Li-Fi Design. I want to talk to you today a little bit about supplies. I was sitting at my desk answering some emails and I kept thinking about questions that I've been getting over the last few weeks around watercolor supplies, art supplies. I've been diving in deep with some of my own personal art practice, and I thought it'd be really great to introduce you to some new watercolor supplies that I've just discovered. I'm working on a blog post to share more about that, and just talk to you about not letting art supplies and getting the right art supplies stop you from creating art and making art, specifically when it comes to watercolor. Because I know with watercolor, your paper makes a difference, the quality of the pigment for your watercolor paints makes a difference, but when you're just starting out, you don't know if watercolor is something that you're going to dive deep into and want to invest a lot of money into supplies. So if you're just starting out and you want to have some success with practicing, of course, Watercolors Made Simple, my online class, will help you with the fundamentals for techniques, but I feel like with supplies, it depends on what country you're in, what your personal budget is for spending on supplies, and what you have access to. And I know sometimes for me, it really depends on what store I'm in with respect to what I'm buying, or if I'm shopping online, what it is that I have access to. Okay, so I hope that today is a little bit inspiring for you and will help to demystify a little bit when it comes to your specifically watercolor art supplies. Okay, let's dive in. So first off, the question I get asked the most about are brushes, because brushes are a tool that I feel like are very personal to the artist. And I have finally, after years and years of wanting to do so, I've designed a set of brushes that work well for me and the techniques that I use when I paint with watercolor. I like to use round brushes, and I'll even go in a little bit closer and take photos of some of these so you can see them. But I like to use round pointed brushes because I'm a bit of a lazy painter. I don't want to have 5 brushes in front of me to do nice thick bold strokes and also to do some fine detailed work. So if I can use a very pointed round brush, then that allows me to use one brush during an entire painting setting. So for instance, I'm going to show you a painting that I just finished. This, I used one brush and maybe a detail brush actually, because there are some fine veins. But when I'm in the painting mode, I get into this meditative state where I don't want distractions to throw me out of that creative energy. And if you've spent any time on your creative practice and really have gotten into that meditative state that's relaxing and it's all encompassing, it's almost like you don't even realize what's happening around you. Sometimes any little break from that can be a distraction, which means you might even get up from what you're working on and be distracted by something around you, which is why I don't listen to music or anything when I'm painting, because I feel like the energy of what I'm listening to will actually affect what I'm painting, and especially if I'm working on something like abstracts. So another thing I'm going to talk to you about, it's actually time for a little coffee break. Coffee break time. And let me know if you like these chatty sessions. I feel like I miss doing my podcast because there's so many things that I want to talk to you about, but I don't have time to get back into recording a podcast episode and editing that. I thought it'd be better to do something like this where I have a little chat with you, maybe while I'm having my coffee. Okay, so another question I get asked, Nicki, what size brush do you use? And I often will not specifically say what brush. I'll say large or small or whatever, because it really depends on what manufacturer you are using, because the sizes can vary. So here is 3 different brushes from 3 different manufacturers who have Li-Fi Design here. Rosemary & Co., this is a natural hair brush. I thought I would love it more, but I don't actually. And this is a Princeton snap brush, so very inexpensive student grade. They are all roughly the same size, and hopefully you can see that again. I'll zoom in a little bit. They are all roughly the same size, correct? This is a number 10 according to Princeton. This is a number 8 according to Rosemary & Co. And this is a number 12 according to Li-Fi Design. But they all look the same. So that's why I don't tell you exactly what size brush I'm using, because they're all different based on the manufacturer and what their sizing is like. So when I say a large brush, just grab the largest brush that you have. And if you're working on small paper, this is a watercolor journal that I'm currently working in that I made. If you're working on a small size painting, let's say I'll show you this one for example, you don't need anything like this. Is too big for the size piece that you're working on. Just use a size brush that is relative to what you're working on, that feels good to you, that feels comfortable. And then as you start to explore watercolor painting and you're ready for a bit of an upgrade, go to an art supply store and look at the brushes in person and look at the price points and decide what you can comfortably afford and what brush you need to add to your kit to maybe fill a void. Okay, so that is my biggest tip for brushes. And you can see I primarily paint using round brushes, but the odd time I like a nice squared off shading brush. Sometimes I'll use a filbert, not very often though, and a mop brush for when I want a lot of water on my page and I'm doing some really wet, especially landscapes. I'll use a bigger mop brush. But again, I feel like I get into a groove and a bit of a habit, and so I pull the exact same tools and supplies, if that makes sense. Hopefully. Okay. Number 2, paper. If you've taken Watercolors Made Simple with me, you know I recommend using Canson XL. It is not a cotton-based watercolor paper. It is a cheap beginner's paper. It is inexpensive. You can get it anywhere, and that's why I recommend it, because I don't want you to go and buy a pad of arches that is, I think this is $50 for a pad of arches, when you can, I don't even have a Canson. I was looking in my little supply. I don't even have a Canson pad to show you, but you can get Canson 2 for 1 at Michael's. You can get it online. You can get it at most craft stores. It doesn't have to be art supply. And because it's inexpensive, you will feel like you can practice and practice and practice without wasting paper or money. For some reason, paper, I think because you can only use it once really, unless you flip it over and use the back. For some reason, paper is a bit of a struggle when it comes to spending the money on. And again, I feel like because it's a one-time use, whereas brushes, you wash them, take good care of them, lay them flat to dry, and they will last you forever if they're good quality brushes. Paint, a whole entire tube should last you months and months and months and months. I rarely go through an entire tube, and I paint a lot. But paper, you use it once and it really is used. So I recommend the Canson if you're getting started and you need to put in the time and the practice and not feel like you're wasting paper. Paint on both sides. Just get brush to paper, practice mixing your watercolor paints and the correct amount of water to paint ratio. That happens with practice. I can explain to you and I can demonstrate to you, but until you sit down and practice your color mixing and puddle mixing and put your brush to paper, you truly won't get what ratio you need to create for your personal goal, or the way that you like to see the watercolor paint look on watercolor paper, okay? So Canson XL is pulp, it is not cotton. When you are ready to upgrade your paper, if you want to treat yourself and get yourself a pad, Arches or Arche or Arches is a watercolor paper that is very popular. It is a good quality paper. I personally am not a huge fan. I've just finished using it for a huge project that I'm excited to share with you soon. And it is really thirsty paper, so really cottony. It's 100% cotton. And the way that you know if paper is cotton or not is it'll say right on the cover, 100% cotton. Some paper will say 50% cotton. This is a pad that I got from Italy, Fabriano. It says 50% cotton. So cotton is the better quality paper to use with watercolors, but it will require you to adjust how much water you add to your paint puddle when you are mixing. I don't love Arches. I'm not a huge fan. I bought it because I wanted really good quality paper to paint on because this project was really important. And yes, I work with Winsor & Newton. I am a partner of theirs, but I love their products, and that's why I'm a partner. So watercolor paper is a good price point, 100% cotton. This one is a cold press. It has a very fine grain as well, so I like to paint on cold press. It is a pad that I highly recommend, not as expensive as the Arches, but really good quality. And I like the finish of the Winsor & Newton watercolor paper better than the Arches. Now, I haven't bought a new pad in a while, but this is a Fabriano that I got. Again, this one specifically I picked up at an art supply store in Rome. But Fabriano is a really good brand of paper. I know they have other products, but specifically their watercolor paper. I like to use their 100% cotton. You can find it at Desserts. You can find it on Amazon. I've linked to it. I will link to everything as well in my blog post. So there will be a blog post that will accompany all of this. So paper, upgrade when you feel comfortable. Use your Canson Excel for when you're just starting out. If you haven't taken any of my watercolor classes or sketchbook class where I teach you how to make little sketchbooks like this one's a little bit different, but little sketchbooks, then my favorite watercolor sketchbook that is not cheap, and this one I still have the price tag on. I got it from my local Indigo. I buy them online. When I can find them in art supply stores, I buy them. This book was $30. It is one that I have shown you again and again. It's by Strathmore. I love their watercolor paper in it. I'm not going to crack it open because it's brand new and I'm saving it until I fill in my next one. You can paint front and back. I love that it's a soft bound cover. I am not a huge fan of the spiral. I love books. So for me, just even holding this book, I am excited to crack it open. It is a splurge, but if you are traveling, if you want to start a sketchbook practice, and you want to use watercolor, it is one that you'll enjoy the results with. So you'll be happy to paint with it. Okay, again, splurge, but you can make your own. And maybe I need to do a few more classes on how to make your own sketchbooks because I've been really enjoying them. Okay, so next up, paints. I typically like to use Winsor & Newton professional paints. It's no secret. I, again, partner with them because I love them. The pigment payoff is amazing. The pigment quality is really good. They are light fast, so they will last forever. If you are selling your watercolor paintings, you want to use good quality paints that won't fade and will last for years and years and years to come. I like tubes because I have maybe 10 different mixing palettes. So when everything dries, I just will pick up a palette if I'm doing a casual painting and will continue to work with this palette and the colors that are on it, or I will add to it. I have a ton of palettes that I, again, have dry. This one is a plate. I think it was from Indigo. Pretty sure it's from Indigo. And it's a serving dish. So I use ceramic palettes. I use recycled dishes for my palettes. I buy beautiful handmade palettes online. This one is Sylvan Clayworks. Palettes, I'm jumping off from paint. Palettes are something that, again, you can use anything, but I wouldn't recommend plastic, not for watercolor anyway. So going back to paints. So I was recently approached by a local company, which I was so excited about because if I can support local, then I'm so happy. They're called Traikos. I have to get the magic of television. I've come back. I had some stuff that I was playing around with getting ready for today. Okay, so new local company. They are based out of Kingston, Ontario. They are a paint manufacturer. They sent me some supplies a couple of months ago to play around with. And I have to say, the last batch of paints that they sent me, so here's their dry palette, I really love. I'm really enjoying working with their paints. So I have tested some of their tubes as well, but I'm kind of sold on the pigment quality of this dry palette, which you can buy these individual colors and build your own, or you can buy their sets that they've put together for you if you're not sure what colors to buy, because the pigment payoff is really beautiful. So you know me, I swatch everything. So here is the swatching for the palette that I have. And I really love it. I love it so much that I've become an affiliate of theirs. So if you purchase anything through links, thank you as always. I make a small commission and it helps to fund things like these videos and my coffee addiction, which I'm almost done. Let's take another. My coffee addiction, that's a big one. And they're really great. So I painted this rose on handmade paper of theirs that they sent me too. So again, you can see the pigment quality is really good. I'm doing a 100-day project, which I'm recording a video for next, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. But I used their paints to paint my latest portrait, which I really loved. And I love that they use a bamboo tray. I love natural organic materials whenever possible, which is so fun. They sent me a sketchbook to try. So this I actually decorated on my own, so it comes completely blank. And I did get to test out. I don't love the portrait that I did on this one, but it's really nice cottony paper. It kind of feathers a bit, so it's very different than the Strathmore. But it's nice if you were doing, oh, it just feels so good too. It's handmade paper. It's nice if you were doing some color studies. So these are their palette, or their tubes of paint as well. Again, I swatch everything just to test them out. You can see they're really pigmented, and they're Canadian, like really great company. They're eco-conscious. Family run, which is huge, and their price points are really good, guys. So I'm excited that they reached out to me, because I don't think I would have found them otherwise. So I'm going to shoot another video for this part, but I saw this on their website and asked them to send it to me. It's called Watercolor Ground. So I paint using acrylics and now most recently oils, and I use a lot of different mediums for when I'm painting with acrylics. And gesso being one of them, because gesso then creates that really nice surface on anything, and I can grab my acrylic paints, my pastels, whatever I'm working in, and paint on that surface that I create. This watercolor ground does the same thing. So I actually put some watercolor ground on, this is just vintage paper from an old vintage book that I picked up. And now I can paint on this paper because of that watercolor ground. Again, I'm going to do another video, but it's kind of cool. So it's like a paste. I just used an old hotel room key actually from my latest travels to spread the ground on this paper. And I'm going to play around with some abstract kind of just playful watercolor practice on this ground. So if you're looking to maybe paint on different substrates and use your watercolors, then this watercolor ground is something that I think you're really going to enjoy and have fun playing with. Okay, so some extra supplies, but again, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I get excited when I find some new things and some new suppliers. The places I like to shop for my watercolor supplies are mainly in person. I have to say, I love being able to see colors and pick up brushes and get a feel for what things are in person. If you can't shop in person, we've had a lot of art supply stores close recently, unfortunately. Then, you know, shopping online is fantastic. Go directly to that manufacturer. If you love their products, support them directly, because it affects their business in a very positive way. Amazon is also a great one. Again, if you purchase anything through my affiliate links, know that I earn a small percentage. But again, I link to things that I personally use and recommend and love. I wouldn't recommend anything other than that. I feel like my desk is a mess. I even have camera recording supplies, but it's good. It's like a happy mess. Okay, so to close off this long-winded, I felt like it was going to be a quick video, but this long-winded little video with you is to not let supplies stop you from painting or exploring your art practice. Use what you have and then start to add slowly to your practice. So when I get messages from students saying, Nikki, I just signed up for your class, what do I need to get started? Watch the first video, watch the supply video, decide what it is that you want to invest in. Go to your local craft or art supply store, see what they have, look what's within your budget, and then come back and maybe watch that supply video again, or watch the first few videos. I'm working on creating more information like that to get you started and to support you as you're just beginning. But maybe you're an artist who you've done some watercolor practice, you're starting to paint things, maybe you're starting to share your paintings with others, which I'm really excited if you are, and you're looking to upgrade your paints, upgrade to full cotton, and just read the front of the pad. It says 100% pure cotton on that paper. And then you don't have to worry about it being acid-free or what the pound is, 140 pounds right there, because it's a good quality paper. So you don't have to worry about that. If your pad does not say 100% cotton, I can almost guarantee you it's not cotton, because they will advertise it on the front cover to let you know that it is cotton paper. Use the best quality paints that you can afford. Again, whether it's professional or whether it's, I don't even know, I should ask them actually at Traikos if these are considered professional grade quality paints. I feel like they are, because I'm using them and really enjoying that pigment payoff, and I think that it's striking. The background, I did use black gouache though, just so you know. Black gouache is amazing if you haven't tried it. White gouache is also a staple in my kit too. Play around with that, and then look for brushes that you can afford. I would buy one really good quality watercolor specific art brush if that's all you're starting out with. We do order these in batches. We've just recently sold out, but if you want to know when we're releasing another batch or we're ordering another batch of brushes, just subscribe to my email list on lifeidesign.com. We don't order, you know, thousands and thousands because I just don't have anywhere to store them. So we order small batches at a time, and then it takes 2 months to get them manufactured and shipped to them because they're made overseas. But again, just everything designed by me. So I'm excited that those of you who've gotten your hands on a set are enjoying them, because that's really what I've been using the last almost year or so now. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. I'm going to share with you next about my 100-day project and what I've learned so far, and even demonstrate using this watercolor ground. So if you haven't subscribed to me on YouTube, please do. I am planning on sharing lots more on this channel, and if there's anything that you would like to see me share, then just let me know. I kind of want to make these episodes or videos be similar to what I used to share on my podcast, and just giving you a little boost with your creative practice and your personal art practice. Okay, so thank you. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe, comment, and let me know if this helped, and I will see you next time.